Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sarah and I'm a Christian booktuber who loves all things bookish related, and I include spice and language ratings in all of my reviews. And welcome to our next TBR video, which is for the month of April, which is crazy that we're already 4 months into 2026. This will be my third TBR video that I have done. First time I did it, didn't really do a great job of sticking to my TBR. And then for March, I did kind of like a mid-month TBR where I only picked 4 books, and I actually ended up reading 3 of those. So definitely a lot better than my first TBR video, but definitely didn't complete it either. But we're still working on it. Progress is progress, right? I'm actually filming this on a Sunday, so I'm still in my Sunday clothes, which I thought would be appropriate because we are getting into some more of the spring months. As far as what I would like to read in the month of April, I think having some just fun, cutie romances would be nice. And I'm still kind of craving a romantasy. Not so much a fantasy, but like a fantasy with some romance. Still kind of chasing after that feeling that I had from reading The Rose Bargain back in January. Maybe yearning. I think that's what I'm craving, is like some book with yearning in it. I also splurged and got some Starbucks today. My go-to drink is the brown sugar milkshake and espresso, so got a little fun drink for this TBR video today. As always, I'm going to be using TBR cards to choose my books for the month of April, and I'm going to pick up to 5 books here, which these are always linked down below in the description in case you want your own versions of them. But let's just shuffle them up and dive right in. Right, here we go. Choose an enemies to lovers book, which I feel like this has romantasy written all over it. So let me pull some options here, shall we? So these are definitely some romantasies that have been on my radar and I've been in the mood for, and I'm pretty sure all of them have at least some sort of enemies to lovers type of romance in it. First we have The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. In this one you are following Leah, who is actually already a princess to begin with, but she's being forced into a marriage purely for political alliance, and she wants no part of that whatsoever. So then she ends up escaping her kingdom, but also ends up stealing some pretty top secret documents in the process. So now not only is she fleeing from her own life, she is now fleeing for her life because her father, the king, ends up sending bounty hunters to go and catch her. I have 3 different books from 3 different series by Mary E. Pearson, and I have not read a single one yet. I've heard this series takes place in the same world as the Dance of Thieves duology, which that one has been on my TBR even longer than this one, but honestly I wanted to read this series first just so I could get an idea of the world building and then go and do the Dance of Thieves duology. So this one is on my 26 books that I want to read in 2026, so it'd be good to mark another one of those off. I also have Thorn Season by Kiara Azar, which I believe the sequel to this comes out in November, and it is also one of the 26 books that I'd like to read in 2026. This one you're following our main female character who possesses a form of magic that is considered illegal in the kingdom she is in, but then she ends up getting taken to the royal court, I think, and gets thrown into some sort of competition, I want to say. I'm not sure if it's for one of the princess hand in marriages, but basically she is a criminal hiding in plain sight, which sounds interesting. Also, I feel like this one is very spring themed just based off of the sprayed edges, and then of course the cover too is very springy. So we have that one. I have another romantasy called Never Ever After, which this one has been in my TBR since October, so it's definitely been on my list for a little bit longer. And this one says, life in the Iron Mountains is harsh and unforgiving. After the death of her beloved uncle, Ying has survived by becoming a skilled thief and even better liar. When she acquires an enchanted ring that holds the key to a brighter future, it is stolen by her step-aunt, and Ying must venture into the imperial heart of the kingdom to seize it back. This one I think is also more kind of on the Asian mythology fantasy type world building, which I've been very fascinated by. I will say, after having to DNF my last kind of Asian fantasy read, I'm a little hesitant to pick up another one. But this one also just has such a pretty cover. Not to mention there's even artwork on the cover itself. Like, I think that's super cool. We shall see. Maybe to this one. And then the last one I have is A Dance of Lives by Brittany Arena. This one I think I've had since September. September of last year. Actually, never mind. I've had this since July, so it's been on my TBR for almost a year now. This one you're following our main female character who is a dancer in the king's court and then gets wrongfully convicted for a crime she didn't commit and then ends up getting thrown into a dungeon, and then 2 years later she gets taken out of prison and then is recruited to be a spy for the king that put her in jail to begin with. I do know the sequel to this one also comes out, I think, September, October, and it is also on my list of 26 books that I want to read this year. I have been kind of craving this one. Like anytime I go and look at my TBR shelf, I look at this one every single time. Another one though that I could do is literally yesterday I just started Heir of Fire, which is part of the Throne of Glass series, slowly making my way through that series. And I do know that one, I think, has some enemies to lovers plots in it too. So I could just pick that one, especially since I'm already reading it, but I don't know if that's cheating. I don't know. All of these sound so good. You know what? I think I'm going to go with A Dance of Lives. Like I said, I've been very intrigued to pick this one up. The plot sounds super interesting. I've heard that this one actually has low to no spice in it, which is always a bonus for sure. Not to mention this is also a really pretty addition from the Romantasy book subscription, A Laurel, which I'll make sure to link them down below. It's also got a pretty cool map on the inside. So first one for this month is going to be A Dance of Lies. So we're going to set that up there. Perfect. All right, book number 2. Read a book based in a foreign country. I do know I have a couple ones that this could fit, so let me pull those options here. Okay, we got quite a few options here. Obviously, pretty much any historical fiction that I have on my TBR, I could probably pick to fit this prompt. But I did find 2 romances that take place in different countries. We have Love at First Book. This one takes place in Dublin, Ireland. And then I also have Don't Be in Love, which takes place in England. Also, historical fiction-wise, have The Fountains of Silence. This one takes place in Spain during World War II. I have The Lies We Leave Behind, which is also a World War II historical fiction. This one takes place, I think, off of the coast of England, English countryside. And of course, The Nightingale, we all know about this one. Historical fiction, takes place in Paris. Yeah. I also have The Singer's Gun, which takes place off of the coast of Italy, which I have been wanting to get more into Emily St. John Mandel's writing more. I read Station 11 by her and actually really liked that one. This one says you're following Anton, whose parents dealt in stolen goods, but then once he reaches his early 20s, he's determined to live a normal life, ends up getting engaged, and then all of a sudden somebody from his parents' past, I think it's a cousin of his, ends up blackmailing him to do one last stolen goods job. So we got a little bit of heist in this one, which could be interesting. Like I said, I have honestly kind of been craving just some cutesy romances. So I'm leaning towards one of these 2. In Love at First Book, you're following Emily, who's a librarian on Martha's Vineyard, and then she gets an opportunity to work with one of her favorite authors of all time. So she ends up moving Sorry, book just fell. So she ends up moving to Dublin, Ireland to work at the bookstore that is owned by her favorite author, but then she ends up having to work with her favorite author's son, who is a little bit of a Mr. Grumpy Pants. I have always been intrigued, at least by the cover and the premise of this one, every single time I went to Barnes & Noble, and I finally picked up a physical copy, but I have not read it yet. And then I also have Don't Be in Love by Liana Cincotti. This one follows Adelaide, who gets accepted into a prestigious college in England and ends up crossing paths with somebody who's quite famous in the UK entertainment world. I think I'm going to go with Love at First Book. Like I said, I have always been intrigued by this book every single time I went to the bookstore, and since I've been in the mood for some romances, I think this one will just be a cute, fun one. All right, book number 3. Ooh, this one should be fun. So choose a book by an indie author, which I do have a couple copies by indie authors on my shelf. I do have quite a few ebooks by indie authors, but I'm honestly really trying to kind of whittle down my physical TBR. But these are the 3 that I have physical copies of, all by indie authors. This one is indie published, so I could honestly just pick this one since I've already thought about choosing it. I also have my Second Chance Cowboy. This is a closed-door cowboy romance, which the back of this one says, in the wake of heartbreak, I escape Boston for the untamed beauty of a West Texas dude ranch. There I find comfort in the arms of a rugged rancher who carries his own wounds beneath a tough exterior. The sign should read, "Welcome to the Cavana Ranch, where broken souls find solace and love in the most unexpected places." I have been curious to get into cowboy romances, but most of them tend to be pretty heavy spice-wise, so I was excited to find this one, which is for sure closed door. Also, the font on this one is massive. So I feel like I could honestly read this one pretty quickly. And then the other one I have is Love and Other Goals by Tracey Baack. Tracey's actually lives in the same state that I do, which is pretty cool. And I've actually messaged with her back and forth a little bit. I've been on a couple of her ARC release teams before, and she's honestly just one of the nicest people ever. Well, this one is a soccer romance, where our main female character is somebody who has her entire life playing down to a T, except the one thing she was not expecting was the very unplanned famous soccer player, which I've never actually read a soccer romance before, but all of Tracey's books are no spice, kisses only, no language either. Honestly though, since we are getting into more of the spring months, I kind of want to go with My Second Chance Cowboy. I just feel like this is a very summery, springy, good type of romance to read. Like I said, with the font being on the larger side, I feel like I could read this fairly quickly too. Also, funny enough, we have only drawn pink cards so far today. All right, book number 4. Ooh, read a book that inspired a movie. Okay, that's cool. Let's see what we got. I mean, I do have Lord of the Rings on my shelf, which very much inspired some pretty famous films. So I could choose that one. I do know The Nightingale is in the process of being turned into a movie, which this one has been on my TBR, I think, since 2023. And I've heard nothing but good reviews about it, but honestly, it kind of intimidates me because every single person that I talk to say this book made them cry, which could honestly be really good or really bad. Or the only other one I can think of is The Lost Husband by Katherine, which has already been turned into a movie. I'm sure there are others on my TBR that either in the process of being made into a movie or have been movies, but I just honestly can't remember at this point. So I think we're just gonna pick between these two, which size comparison is kind of crazy. As you could probably tell by the couple tabs, I did start reading this one at one point and then was just not really in the mood for historical fiction, so I put it down and I have not picked it up yet. If you have somehow never heard of The Nightingale before, this one you're following two sisters who both live in France at the time that Germany starts to take over France during World War II. So you're following each sister as they're embarking on their own journeys, how they're contributing to the war, and the ups and downs that they each experience. Like I said, I've been meaning to read this book for a while. I know the easier route is to choose the shorter book, especially since I love Katherine Center. This one you're following Libby, who is a recent widow, and she gets a letter from her aunt inviting her to come and stay on her aunt's ranch. The ranch is also in Texas. But then I think she ends up making a connection with one of the ranch hands. So there is a little bit of romance in this one too. And I've been slowly making my way through Katherine Center's backlog, but I also know that this one is very well loved too. And even though it intimidates me, I do want to read it. So, guys, I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. All right, last book, here we go. Let's go for this one. This one says, choose a thriller to read. Ooh, okay, so we got a couple options for this one. I did recently just purchase The New Girl by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This is a YA mystery thriller. I also have First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I also have The Blonde Identity by Ali Carter, or Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. This one does take place on Halloween though, so I feel like this is more of a fall type of thriller. Maybe not this one. I could also continue the Natural series, which I've been slowly making my way through. I think All In is the next one, which is the third book in the series. But again, I don't have that one physically. I'd have to go purchase the physical book or read it on Kindle. Or I don't know if you would consider this one a thriller, but there is a new book in the Finley Donovan series, which that one is on my list of 26 books that I want to read this year. But again, that's more mystery romance with comedy. So honestly, I think I'm gonna choose between one of these two. In this one, you're following Leah, who ends up winning a Fulbright scholarship to a very prestigious high school, where she really struggles with the life of being the new girl at school. She very much feels like an outcast. All of her classmates come from very rich families, but then all of a sudden a dead classmate is found in the classroom of a teacher who happens to not like Leah whatsoever. So there's definitely some drama that stirs up with that. I've only read one other book by Jessica Sutanto, and that was Dial A for Aunties, which I did really enjoy that one. So I'd be curious to read one of her more YA mystery thrillers. And we also have First Light Wins. This one you're following Evie Porter, who's essentially an assassin for hire. And Evie Porter is not her actual name. She has no idea who offers her these jobs. She just knows when, where, and who. Which this one I feel like I could see myself reading kind of like on a rainy afternoon. Maybe like a little thunderstorm in the background. Ooh, okay. I can see it. Can you guys see it? I think I'm gonna go with First Light Wins. All right, so to recap, we have A Dance of Lies, Love at First Book, My Second Chance Cowboy, The Nightingale, and First Light Wins. Definitely got a bit of a variety this month, which honestly I think is really good to have some options and some variety. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and comment down below what you're reading right now, or what are some new books that you're excited for. And while you're there, feel free to click that subscribe button, as I greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget to check out my bookstagram page for more bookish content, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!